The fairy tale of Cinderella was supposed to end with her marrying the prince and living happily ever after. But everything had started beyond that innocent happily ever after cliché. The magnificent walls of the palace were about to transform Cinderella from a naive girl into a queen burning with the fire of vengeance. On the morning of the wedding night, Cinderella's stepmother and stepsisters appeared at the palace. They had used the wedding invitation to sneak into the palace with a cruelty befitting the stepmother. The stepmother was determined to ruin Cinderella's life once more. This time, her goal was big enough to affect the fate of the entire kingdom, not just Cinderella's. Her aim was to steal the Crystal of the Heart, one of the most valuable jewels in the palace. Rumor had it that this crystal reflected not only light, but also the future of the kingdom. If the crystal were stolen, the entire kingdom would be plunged into eternal chaos. When Cinderella accidentally learned of her stepmother's dirty plans, a volcano erupted inside her. The innocent girl was gone, replaced by a ruthless and determined queen. She had to face the shadows of her own past. She would now fight not just for her own life, but for the entire kingdom. To protect the Crystal of the Heart, she and the prince embarked on a dangerous journey. Along the way, they encountered secrets from the past, mysterious allies, and unexpected betrayals. The stepmother had ceased to be just a villain, she had harnessed all the dark powers. Cinderella, like a master swordsman, cleverly overcame traps and tried to survive in dangerous forests. The Cinderella reborn from the ashes was no longer just a princess, but also a warrior protecting her people. This new role had brought her both power and a great burden. The journey took them to the deepest, darkest dungeons and the highest towers of the kingdom. With every step, the stepmother's terrible plans became a little clearer. The stepmother would not only steal the Crystal of the Heart, but would also use it to poison the prince's father, the king. This would leave the kingdom defenseless and allow her to seize the throne. Finally, Cinderella and the prince reached the Temple of Eternal Light, where the Crystal of the Heart was hidden. But the stepmother was waiting for them. She had used her most powerful magic and surrounded the temple's entrance with a circle of fire. Cinderella, with a final act of courage, leapt into the flames. Her pure heart extinguished the flames and opened a path for her to reach the crystal. Facing her stepmother, she was no longer the innocent girl she once was. The final confrontation was much more than a sword fight. It was a reckoning where Cinderella brought together all her pain, anger, and dreams. All the feelings of vengeance she had accumulated up to that point had turned into power. And at that very moment, Cinderella's glass slipper shattered against the temple floor, and the entire temple collapsed into the deepest chasms of the kingdom. Did Cinderella and the prince survive the collapse? Could they save the Crystal of the Heart and restore peace to the kingdom? Or would the kingdom's new ruler be a ruthless queen? The collapse of the temple buried not only stones and walls, but also Cinderella's past. From the ruins, they fell into a chasm illuminated by the trembling light of the Crystal of the Heart. At the end of the chasm, the stepmother, once a queen, now a ruthless sorceress, was waiting. But this time, she wasn't alone. With her was Cinderella's own stepsister, Drizella, who carried a soul so dark that she was ashamed of her own innocence, nourished by the tale of a victim. Drizella, who had never found a mother's love, had directed all her hatred towards Cinderella's happiness. Do you understand now, poor princess? This kingdom is not for the likes of you. This is a place for those who seek revenge, for those born in darkness. The stepmother thundered, her voice echoing in the chasm. But the Crystal of the Heart holds the power of not only the kingdom's fate, but also the purest heart. Yours is now a defiled heart, added Drizella, stepping towards the prince. Cinderella paused for a moment at these words. Drizella's cruel words cut her heart like a sword, but the prince squeezed her hand and whispered, "Love is the greatest enemy of all darkness." These simple words dispersed the dark clouds within Cinderella. Suddenly, a beam of light rose from the prince's chest. This light came from a mysterious necklace inherited from the prince's mother. The prince took the necklace in his hand and held it up to the Crystal of the Heart. The light from the necklace combined with the light of the crystal, radiating an incredible brilliance. This light began to melt not only the darkness, but also the hatred within the stepmother and Drizella. The stepmother screamed in pain. Her power was melting away before her eyes. Drizella, on the other hand, hesitated for a moment. She tried to cling to her own innocence, but this light had penetrated even the darkest corners of her heart. Cinderella did not miss this opportunity. She took the stepmother's staff from her hand and shattered it with a final blow. With the staff's destruction, the stepmother and Drizella returned to their old, ugly, and ordinary selves. They no longer had magic powers or the darkness they possessed. Only tears remained, a reflection of the mercy Cinderella had once shown them. From the ruins of the collapsed temple, the crystal of the heart rose. Its light illuminated the entire kingdom and lifted the dark curse from the people. Cinderella held the prince's hand, and together they began a new era as the queen and king of a kingdom reborn from the ashes. But something had changed. Cinderella was no longer the innocent, pure princess she once was. She was a queen who had burned with the fire of vengeance, learned to walk in darkness, and finally made peace with the light. For the kingdom, she was no longer just a fairy tale, but also a hero. Still, deep down, the last look in Drizella's eyes remained as a shadow in Cinderella's mind. Was this just the beginning? Was this queen ready for the new threats awaiting the entire kingdom?